Salut la famille! Capture One finally caught up to Lightroom and added the long-awaited AI selection. But the question that remains, which of the two is better? On this video, we'll put them head to head and we'll see which comes first and on what aspect each one is better than the other. So let's go. We're here on Capture One, and for today's head-to-head, we will be taking those two pictures as examples that we will be testing both on Capture One and Lightroom. And the two pictures that I selected for this video is one of a white skin model and one of a brown skin model. And the reason why I took two models with different skin complexions for this video is because we read a lot of articles about tools, and especially AI tools, that are effective mostly with white skin people and not necessarily with dark skin one. I don't believe that this is something intentional or there is bad intention in that, but those AI tools, they need a lot of data set to be trained on, and internet is mostly filled with people with brighter skin color. So those models, they have more people with white skin to train on rather than black skin. So that's probably the reason why some of those tools are not as effective on darker skin. So we have those two people here with two different skin complexions that we will see if the tool will be as effective with the dark skin as with the white skin model. I know that this tool is quite new, so maybe some of you are not familiar yet with how to use the new AI selection in Capture One, so probably you can use this video also as a tutorial for you. So basically, if you go on the new Capture One, you will see that you have the subject and the background. It's quite simple. You have also here the AI brush and the AI erase tool. So obviously, if you click on select, it will select the subject, and the background, it will select the background. If we go on Lightroom, that you are probably more familiar with, if we go to the selection panel, you will see that it has three options. One of them is subject, you have the sky, and you have the background. Of course, you can see here that out of the gate, Lightroom is offering more because it has the sky selection. And for me, I believe that the reason why they don't have that in Capture One, because Capture One is mostly a tool used for portraiture. And the sky is not something as important for people that use Capture One as it is for the people that use Lightroom, because I will say the majority of people that do landscape, they use Lightroom, including myself. So the sky selection is something extremely important if you are using Lightroom. Capture One, if you are using it, yes, if you are doing portraits and you have a lot of sky, yes, it's annoying that you don't have one button for that, but it's not something that will change your workflow a lot. But out of the gate, this is something that Lightroom has over Capture One. So let's start by doing the simple selection of the subject, and we will put them together to see. So let's click on the subject select. So here we can see that Capture One did a really quite good selection. Let's now zoom a little bit at 100%, and we will see if it was as good with the details. And we can see that it did really good. Here you can see even the smallest hairs are really well selected, but in certain areas, a few, mostly with the hair, it's missing. When it comes to the body and the clothes, I can say that it's almost perfect. There is small things, but the selection is near perfect. It doesn't go out of the subject. I will say it's really good. Let's do now a background selection, and we will see how it will work. I will tell that the background selection is mostly an inverse of the subject selection, which is logical, and it's really good. I think we can say that we are quite satisfied with this selection. Although it's not perfect, you can see here the hair, It will be annoying if you are doing big adjustments and there is this, but it's something that you can correct. So now let's go on Lightroom and we will try to do the same selections. So let's click on the subject select, and we can see that it did really good job. So let's zoom at 100% and we will see the details. So here we can see that the hair is very well selected. The small hair is selected well. However, in contrary with what we had on Capture One, here the selection selected all the hair, but sometimes it's also selected part of the background. It's not something dramatic, but still it's a different type of selection, which tells me somehow that those tools are using different algorithms to understand the picture. From what I can see here is that Capture One is more conservative. Even here, for example, in the hair, you can see that it tried to be as precise as possible. If it's not sure, it doesn't select. When it comes to Lightroom, it's less conservative. It's less precise. I would not say it's less precise, but it goes overboard sometimes. Of course, now we are nitpicking here. We are not pixel people, but still, we are going at 100% to check the details. But here, for example, it went a little bit overboard. In Capture One, it had its doubt and it stopped. But both of them, I will say, that are really good, because in both cases, you can correct that quite easily. Let's try now the background so we can compare it to the one. So let's select the background. And we can tell here that it's also a simple invert. So it did really good. It's not, there is some parts that are not well selected. Let's see on Capture One if it selected that one. Good. Yeah, Capture One is more or less the winner on this one. It selected part of the clothes, but you see, those are also here, so it's the same. But I will say there is not a drastic difference. There is not a drastic difference. Of course, all those tools, they do 98% of the work for you, and you can add the 5% from yourself, adding the hair, selecting it, even if that would not necessarily impact the result. So let's go back at 100%, and now we will go to the dark skin model, and we will see if it does as good of a job on that. So let's do the subject select and see how well it does. And at 100%, I can tell that it's not 100%, but from here I can tell that the selection is near perfect. Let's zoom at 100%. And I can tell, well, the hair here, we have curly hair. It did really good selection. There is parts of the hair, the background here that was not selected, but it's not drastic. But the selection is near perfect. You can see here, it detected that it's part of the background and not the subject. It's really good. Let's select the background. And obviously it's just an invert of the selection. You can see here that there is small parts, but it just hints. It doesn't impact the editing, but you can tell that the selection is really good. So yeah, it's pretty good selection. Let's go to the same picture here, and we will do the subject and the background selection. Let's select the subject, and as with Capture One, the selection is really good. The hair is well selected. Here you can see that it detected that it's part of the background and not the subject. However, here it didn't necessarily detect that it's part of the background. So it's extremely hard to tell which one is better, because in certain areas, Capture One performs better. In the others, Lightroom performs better. And from the little I experienced and I tested between the two, I can tell that Capture One is more conservative. Capture One, if it thinks that this is a background, it will not select it. Here on Capture One, so it's mostly this thing with half full, half empty. One is trying to say it's better if I do less and let you add, and the other one is saying it's better if I do more and let you reduce. So you can see here that it's clear that they're using different algorithms to achieve those types of selection. Because here, the selection is not well done in Capture One. It's not part of the background, but on here, if we select now the background, it selects it really good, but here it doesn't. So I would not say that there is one tool that is better than the other when it comes to subject and background selection. It's up to you which one you prefer, but now we will go into a more selective selection to see if those two tools are as good on selective selections as they are with the total subject selections. We have reset the pictures both on Capture One and Lightroom, and now I will show you the take of Capture One on selective selection. So in addition to the subjects and background, now in Capture One we have the AI Select. The AI Select is a simple brush or cursor that if you put it on any element of the picture, it tries to detect what this element is and it detects it. For example, here it detects it's a rock, it's a part of the rock, it's water. For example, here is the clothes, skin, face, hair with certain other elements. So, but it's a very approximative tool. It's not really precise. As when you start moving the cursor, you see that it selects different things. You can do also a selection like this. For example, here it selects only the hair, although I select also with it the face. If I move it a little bit, it will detect just the face. So it's very approximative. It doesn't give you what you have in your mind, but it gets you really, really close. And the good thing with this is that you can do one selection, you can add the second, you can add the third. Also, there is an AI eraser that does the same thing but in inverse. For example, here I want to remove all what I selected here, and you can see that, for example, here, yeah. So it's a really, really good tool for selection. I will not say it's smart, but it gets you really close. It tries to understand the picture, it tries to see what you are trying to select, and it does it. However, this tool tells me that this is not necessarily an AI tool. AI now is the new buzzword. It's a word that is thrown away on anything in this year. It's like the crypto last year and the blockchain 2 years ago. Is the buzzword. Everybody is throwing it on everything. We used to have the selections in Photoshop for years, but no one was calling it AI. Now the word AI is thrown at anything. And what this tool, I can see that it doesn't necessarily understand the picture. It doesn't understand that this is hair, this is this, this is that. It just tries to do an approximation. It's an algorithm that tries to understand that those colors are quite similar, so let's select them together. Of course, it's an algorithm. It's very complex. It's not because it's not an AI tool that is not really good, but it's not as smart as what we can call AI, that it understands this is eyes, this is this, this is that. Because otherwise they will have put eyes, hair, things like that. But here it's mostly approximation. You change it a little bit and it starts to think, no, you want to select other things. So for me, this is more like an advanced algorithm rather than AI. But it's really good. If you want to select things, I think it can get you where you want with a little bit of selecting once, selecting twice and all that, erasing certain stuff. For me, it's a very, very usable tool. I would not say it's top notch, but it gets the job done. Let's go to the dark skin model on Capture One still, and we will see if it works well. Let's try to select the hair, and you can see that the selection of the hair is not necessarily perfect. It doesn't know that this is hair, for example, but it's quite close. You can select the first, you can go to the, for example, let's select the hair, and you can go, for example, here and select the missing parts. You see, you move it a little bit and it starts to think that is, for example, here it selects also the eyes with it. Let's clear that. For example, the eyes, you can select the eyes, and for example here, you see it selected only the white of the eyes. I wanted to select all that. Let's see if we can select also the black. It still doesn't want to do it, even if I select all the eye with it. So it tells me that it's not necessarily an AI tool, but it's a very powerful algorithm. Let's put it 100%. It's preparing the mask, so let's try again. Yeah, now it did it. Yeah, now it did it. It's not perfect selection, but still, if you want to select the clothes, let's put it at fit. Yeah, it does a really good job, but it doesn't understand that this is clothes as well. For example, when you select this, it doesn't select that part with it, which is part of the clothes. So yeah, as I said, I don't believe this is necessarily an AI tool, but it's a very, very, very good selection tool. It will definitely get you where you want. Let's see the lips. If it's not a very good selection of the lips. So I will give it a B- for that. It's not the best tool. For example, here it selects some of the face, some of the neck. It's not necessarily perfect, but it will get you close to where you want. Oh, let's go now on Lightroom, and I will show you the take of Lightroom on the selective selection. So if we click on masking, you see here that we have object. Object, if you select it, you can select the elements that you want on the picture, and it tries to understand it and select. For example, here it selected the tree, not this part of it. I'm not sure if it works as well with people, so let's try to select the people. For example, here I want the face and the hair. Let's see if it selected well. Not the best. It selected this with it. And the reason that I don't want you to focus on that, because I am predominantly a portrait photographer, and the picture that I showed you here is mostly of people, because that's the main focus of my channel in my photography. So I don't want to show you a landscape or cityscape or something like that. But this tool is extremely good when it comes to objects like a car, like a light pole. For example, if you take a picture in the street and you have a light pole that you hate on that picture and you want to delete it, this object selection does a really, really good job. To select and delete cars, it does a really, really good job. But it's not good with human subjects. But they have something different, which is the people selection. So if you have already a mask, so this is easy. You can click either on the person, or you can have, for example, a mask. Let's say, for example, let's say brush. Let's put something like that. And here, I just want to show you both ways. So you can click on add and you can select people. Select people will show you all the human beings that are within that picture. So let's click on our subject here, and the tool detects different element of that person. So here it selects by default the whole entire person, but you can do selective selection. Facial skin, it selects only the facial skin, body skin, eyebrows, eye sclera, iris, lips, hair, clothes. It does a really, really good job of understanding the subject and what is clothes, what is hair, what is it. And this tells me that this is a pure AI tool, unlike the Capture One. So it does really good job. If you select the clothes, for example, let's say I want to make a selection of the facial skin and the body skin. you create a mask and you have both of those elements on that you can edit perfectly. Of course, nothing is perfect, at least for now, but it's at 95%. It's done. This is something that I selected before, just for that I can delete it. Yeah, sorry. So now let's go for the dark skin model, and we'll see if the tool works as good for the dark skin model as for the white skin model. So here we will go to, so I try to detect the person. It did. We click on the person and we have entire person, facial skin, perfect selection, body skin, not as good of a selection. And that's something that I told you from the beginning, is that those data sets don't have as many black skin models to be trained on as white skin people. And sometimes it has hard time detecting black skin on certain things. Here maybe it's because of the reflection, it throws it off, but still it's not as perfect. You see, it's not necessarily a big reflection, but still it doesn't detect it as good. And for example, here it detects part of the clothes as being part of the body skin. Nothing bad, but still it's not perfect. The eyebrows, perfect selection. The eyes color, perfect. Iris, lips, hair, hair, for example, if you recall, the other hair selection on Capture One, it was quite hard to do. Here is really, really good. It's perfect, actually. Clothes, it doesn't do a really good job, maybe because it's close to the skin color, but still, it's really good. It gets you really close. I cannot complain about this tool. And for me, when it comes to the selective selection of the subject, which is something that we portrait and people photographer rely a lot on to do skin color corrections, a lot of things, I think Lightroom is ahead of Capture One when it comes to that. Also, we need to keep in mind that Capture One is the first version having this AI selection, and for sure they are working now into improving it. I think that they were rushing a little bit to have it because Lightroom had it for a year or a little bit more, and there were a lot of pressures on Capture One to add the AI select. So I'm sure that as soon as they had something workable, they put it out there, and then they're working on more. But still, I will say that you cannot go wrong either way. It's not as good, but still it's usable. Now I will tell you why I still prefer working with Lightroom, with Capture One over Lightroom when it comes to masking and working on even for the selective selection. It has all to do with the way masking works in Capture One. And for me, it's something that I never understood, why Lightroom doesn't have the same approach. When you create a mask on Capture One, you keep all the tools that you had while editing the global image. So you still have the exposure, the high dynamic range, the levels, the curves, the color editors, which is the most important because you have the hue and saturations and the luminance of each color that you can edit. You have the skin tone, you can do selective selections, you have the split toning, which is color balance. You still have all those capabilities within your mask that you can play with. There is nothing missing here from what you have on the editing for the global image, which gives you a lot of control, especially if you are working with the human subjects, because you need to do a lot of skin corrections and selective adjustment to certain colors. Maybe there is some spots that have different color. For example, the model is kneeling and there is more, some areas of the body are more red than the others and you need to correct them. Capture One gives you all those tools because it doesn't remove anything from what you can do on your selection. For Lightroom it's like they're shooting themselves on the foot. You do a perfect selection, but the masking is lacking a lot of things. And for me, the most important thing missing is the hue, saturation, and luminance. You cannot do selective control of the colors when you are on a mask. There is also the very powerful tool, which is the color grading. For example, if I want to color grade the subject or the background different from the main subjects, you cannot do it. You cannot do it. If I change it here, it will change the whole picture because it's not part of the masking. You don't have the calibration. I know the calibration was done for something else, but everybody's using it for color grading. You do it for the whole picture. So the masking, yes, you do a very good selection of the skin, but if you cannot correct the colors and all that with the selection, it's not as useful. So for me, it's a dilemma between the two, because one does a perfect selective selection and the other one gives you more tool in the approximative selection that you have. So all in all, I will say you cannot go wrong anyway. Both of them are great. I would not recommend changing any of those two tools if you are comfortable with just because of this selection thing. I see that a lot of people, because even myself, I was moving more and more toward Lightroom because I had this control with those selections. But now that Capture One has them, I think now I can work exclusively on Capture One. But Lightroom is still king when it comes to editing for landscape and cityscapes and things like that. So that's all for this video. I hope that this head-to-head answered some of your questions regarding those two tools and how they compare. And yeah, if you agree with me, let me know in the comment. If you don't, see you on the next one. Bye.